Welcome into the In the Money podcast for KeenelandSelect.com. Tom Leach, along with Keeneland's director of simulcasting, Jim Goodman, to talk about the Wednesday feature race, the Grade 3 Jessamine for 2-year-old fillies at 1 1/16 on the turf. And a nice group lined up here. Who did you land on?
Tough race when you look at 2-year-old fillies. Even in October, it's very, very difficult to see which ones are going to take a step forward. So I really went with 4 horses here. I narrowed it down to 4, which is pretty good for me. My top choice is Vicky Oliver's horse, Late Spring. Coming out of Kentucky Downs race, I like the horses coming from the turf of Kentucky Downs. It makes sense for the horse to stretch out from 7 furlongs to 1 1/16. Alan Garcia rides Reese Blanc Road at Kentucky Downs, and the horse is very competitive, just flattened out in the stretch. May want a little more distance, hoping that she does. And Aunt Sherry came back and won over the weekend at Keeneland, so I think Late Spring is my very, very lukewarm choice. You got to put Mike Maker's Walking the Kitten for Ramsey in there, the 8 horse. You got to put Quality Rocks for Bill Mott, who probably is going to be the favorite of that race at Arlington. 2 for 2 on the synthetic, moving to the turf now, and Bill Mott gets it for the first time. And Fila Primera for Chad Brown, always going to get some play with Castellano coming off a maiden win in Belmont. So I narrowed it down to those 4 horses for my pick 4 with a very small edge to Late Spring.
I ended up going to the outside here in Reina de Bateria, if that's how that's pronounced. I think on pedigree, she should be better around 2 turns. And she went from a sprint to 2 turns and didn't really improve in her speed figure, but she just had a brutal trip. So I think with a better trip, I think we'll see the improvement that I was expecting to see sprint to route. And if so, I think she's certainly in the mix. I'm going to use her with the 3 Fila Primera, the 6 Cool Comfort, the 8 Walking the Kitten, and if you can afford to spread further, then do, I'd say, in the horizontal wagers. But I'm going to key off the 9 and use those other 3 in exactas with her. And speaking of spreading out in a race, let's go to the late pick 4, which will start in race 6 today. And I ended up taking the Couturiers, who I liked in here. I liked the 8-1 price, and thought this one had a bunch of trouble in the lone turf start. But I would also use the 6 High Noon Rider, the 1 Cold Spice, the 8 Czar. Then I'm going to key or single Joy Boy in the next race. The speed and the rail, I'm not as high on the 3-year-olds in there. The 8th race, I'm going to use all the 4 of the ones I mentioned. And then in the 9th, I'm going to use Enchanting Lisa and Lady Mary in the 5 and the 1. I heard Charlie Lopresti on Steve Bixat, the Races show Monday, really talking up Enchanting Lisa, how well she had looked on the dirt up at Saratoga. So it's a dirt debut, and because of that, you'll probably get a little bit of a decent price. And I think she's running in a softer spot and turning back from longer races. And so I think there's a chance that Enchanting Lisa could run big in that last race. What about your late pick 4?
I agree with you on the last race. On the first race, I'm going to go ahead and take a stand with Czar. Ben Colebrook is a very underrated trainer, and Czar ran at Kentucky Downs, lost to Cronin the Barbarian, who came back and ran in the stakes here this weekend. But if you go back to Czar's maiden special weight, first race at Ellis Park, ran against Danny Boy and Lon Ranger, who ran 1-2 in the stakes at Keeneland this weekend. So if you go back a couple of races, Czar looks like to me that he may be the class of that race. I love horses coming from Kentucky Downs to the Keeneland turf. So I'm going to single the 8 in the first race. I'm going to go probably 6 deep in the second race using Joy Boy, your horse, Viva Majorca, Magical Moment, the 4, the 6 horse, Announcement, and then the 2 on the outside, the Catholic Cowboy, the 9, and Do No Harm, the 10. So 6 deep there. The 4 horses I talked about in the feature race, the 3, 4, 5, 8, Fila Primera, Quality Rocks, Late Spring, and Walking the Kitten. And I'm going to add Reina de Bateria because you're so convincing with Rosario. I can't believe I left off Rosario for
That's your guy.
So I am not going to let him beat me in the pick 4. So going 5 deep there. And then the last race, I like Lady Marian and Enchanting Lisa, your 2 horses. But I'm also going to add, that's the 1 and the 5. I'm going to add Moon River Gal for Phil Sims, who won the absolute biggest race of his life on Sunday here. And going to the Breeders' Cup with a filly that cost $1,000 at the Keeneland
Great
sale.
story.
So Phil Sims has had a great weekend. So I'm going to put Moon River Gal in there. And then I'm going to also put the 9 Playful Love for Kellen Gorder and Sean Bridgmohan. So I'm going to go single by 6 horses, by 5 horses, by 4 horses. So that's about $60. But singling the 8 Czar in the beginning leg is the key to me.
So that's it for the Wednesday card. We'll be back with another edition of this In the Money podcast for the Thursday stakes race, or Thursday feature race, and then stakes on Friday and Saturday. For Jim Goodman, I'm Tom Leach. That's the In the Money podcast.